Welcome back to Celtic Park here on the Football Show on PLZ Soccer on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. I'm Peter Martin. Gabriel Antoniazzi is with me here at the end of a pulsating 90 minutes. Any Old Firm game that you watch always has that little bit of controversy, hopefully goals and major talking points. And this one no different. Celtic 1, Rangers 1. Elyounoussi with the goal for Celtic, and the equaliser coming from the man who's been waiting for an Old Firm goal for quite a few games. Alfredo Morelos finally gets the goal that you predicted he would get, Gabriel.
Yep, I'd said 1-1 as well, so absolutely delighted with that. But yeah, Morelos, his 55th league goal for Rangers. How fitting, 55th league title as well. You just felt it was coming. Everything was in place for Rangers this season. Morelos is the final piece of that puzzle. The game itself, it started off as a little bit of a dead rubber that we thought it might be, and it sparked into life with that Moy Elyounoussi goal, linking up well with the forward Odsonne Edouard. Then you saw Morelos score. There was plenty of other chances, and Alan McGregor once again proving his worth to Steven Gerrard's side. Celtic giving away a cheap corner, and their vulnerability at set pieces has been plain to see all season. Rangers scoring their 5th consecutive Old Firm goal from a set piece, 4 corners and a free kick. In the end, 1-1, probably a fair result. The only thing that Celtic fans could perhaps complain about is Odsonne Edouard going down softly under the challenge of Borna Barisic. He was booked for diving by referee Willie Collum. John Kennedy disagreed with him though. I'm not sure about all of you at home. Let us know what you think. Celtic fans, Rangers fans, was it a penalty? Was it a fair result? I'll read out all of your best comments from Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on the big match. What did you think about it? Did Celtic deserve the win overall in the 90 minutes? They looked the far more dominant. They were on the front foot. Or indeed was it more a case of the champions Rangers coming to Celtic Park and making sure that they weren't going to lose the match? That contentious point that Gabriel's talking about, if you want an opinion, it's never a penalty. Odsonne Edouard, I do not know what he's thinking about. There's no contact, and in the end, Willie Collum, I think, called that correctly. Now, there are varying opinions on this. You can give us your opinion. Pundits up and down, journalists that we've spoken to, all have different opinions on this one. But for me, it's never a penalty. And the other big question in the game is, what is John Joe Kenny doing with a 40-50 yard pass back towards his goalkeeper from the halfway line? If I could make a football career out of playing passes sideways and backwards, then I certainly could be a right back for Celtic, because that pass back was unbelievably ridiculous. And again, it puts Celtic on the back foot, and they can't defend set pieces, and their old problems come back to haunt them. As far as that penalty decision is concerned, here's what the Celtic caretaker manager John Kennedy made of it.
Spoke to Odsonne, and you know, in terms of that contact, when you get any sort of contact in the box and the player comes flying out at that speed, you know, if you play it full time, you can slow it down and say, oh, I'm not sure how much is there. Play it full speed, the player comes recklessly in, knocks you off balance, just touches you enough, you go over. That's what's happened there, and knocked him off. If it doesn't go over, he's on the ball, he scores a goal. So there's no need for him to go down. He's a goal scorer, he wants as many goals as possible, and he's not that type of player. So we feel aggrieved that we didn't get the penalty kick, but we've got to accept that and then look at the bigger picture of the performance, which was good. Just gutted for the players that we didn't manage to get a win.
Well, John Kennedy thinks it's a penalty. Not for me, Gabriel. I don't know what you think about it.
No, certainly not a penalty for me. Initially, I thought it was, because when you saw Borna Barisic, the Croatian left-back, react, he thought he'd given away the penalty because of the way he dived in. He left the ground, which of course you shouldn't do because you give the referee an option. But when you see it back, there isn't contact. There's no need for him to go down. It was almost reminiscent of the 2019 December Old Firm when Alfredo Morelos still hadn't scored, and he was through, and he just dived looking for a penalty and got a second booking and was sent off. Odsonne Edouard could have stayed on his feet and he would have scored, and I think Celtic would have gone on to win the game. We've got plenty of comments here though. Darren Fields looked like a pen. Paul Pearce looked like a penalty as well. Stephen Watt, that was a clear dive. So differing opinions online as well.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those contentious ones. Did it really mean anything in the broad scheme of things? The answer to that is emphatically no, because Rangers were here as champions with a 20-point gap, so they wanted to get to Celtic Park over the 90 minutes, come away without losing the match and keep that unbeaten record intact, and that's exactly what they did do. They didn't really threaten Scott Bain in that goal. I don't think when you look over the two halves they did anything that you thought, oh, that's a blatant great chance for them to score, other than that set piece.
Yeah, the Ryan Kent had one chance late on in the first half, which was a good save by Scott Bain, but in the second half Rangers just looked comfortable for it, and they knew that Celtic couldn't break them down because they really struggled, so they were happy to take the point. They they were 5 games away from being invincible. Just spoken to Steven Gerrard, and he had a wry smile on his face when the invincible word was mentioned. He says the focus is now in the Scottish Cup, but of course, for all the fans and for the media, he said as well, they want to keep up that invincible tag. They won't, however, equal Brendan Rodgers' side's point record of 106. Rodgers' team only drew 4 games, winning the rest. Rangers have now drawn 5.
Yeah, and as far as Steven Gerrard's concerned, this is what he made of the 90 minutes.
All set and ready for one team to grab it. It was end to end at times. Celtic have had some good passages of play and some good opportunities. We've had a couple of decent breakaways and some set piece opportunities, but neither side could go and grab the victory. I think the result suits us more. We're away from home. We've had a real tough journey in terms of physically and emotionally over the last couple of weeks, and we're already champions as well. So this result suits us. We came here to win, and if you can't win, it's important you don't lose. So we'll take the point and move on.
No surprise, Steven Gerrard looking at the game and thinking, yep, we didn't want to lose it. Over the piece, they're champions, and now they'll look towards the Scottish Cup. 5 games left. I think the real drive will be for the Rangers players. They will know the fans want them to go the entire season unbeaten. As far as the game itself and the overall starting 11 and the game plan, one thing that was evidently clear, Gabriel, was they had a real problem in the right back position. Balogun struggled, I think, and Celtic tried to expose them time and time again. But in the end, it didn't cost them dearly.
No, it didn't. You talked about John Joe Kenny, Celtic's right back, giving away the corner. Liam Balogun, Rangers right back, was their worst player in the park, and I was surprised he wasn't hooked at half time. Nathan Patton did come on in the 55th minute. But yeah, Balogun, he's clearly a centre half. He looks out of position there. They badly missed James Tavernier and Patton as well. I've been really impressed with him when he came on, and he seemed to almost steady them because he gives them that going forward option as well. But Balogun had a couple, and Connor Goldson, for the first time really this season, had 2 or 3 wayward passes in the first half that let Celtic in. Turnbull latched onto a couple, and El Yunusi, but it doesn't really matter. Rangers got their draw. Alan McGregor with 7 more saves.
Yeah, I don't think Rangers fans will be critical of Balogun. He's in a position that he's not familiar with. He doesn't like to play there. He's a centre half, and he did the job that the manager asked of him in difficult circumstances with no Tavernier. Patterson had picked up a knock, so we knew he wasn't going to start. In the end, overall, again, Alan McGregor proving his worth to Rangers. As far as Celtic are concerned, I'm sure some people will be positive, and Celtic fans will not be fooled about the overall 90 minutes, because it's part of what is a calamitous season for Celtic. They still haven't been able to rectify that problem from set pieces. I think overall, I think a lot of those players will have to take a long, hard look at themselves. I think a lot of those players will realise that their future will not be at Celtic Park next season. We're going to see a hugely different Celtic over the course of the next few months. Players going back from loan. El Yunusi undoubtedly will go back to Southampton. Whether there's any loan players that are worth a deal, Laxalt will go back to AC Milan. And I think overall the new manager coming in might have a few that he'll keep, but not many.
No, and speaking to John Kennedy after this game, I also spoke to him after Dundee United, and it was the same rhetoric from him. He said that big changes don't make a difference. That's not how it works. You can't just have a massive squad overhaul, but it seems that's what they need. They really have... you're getting on okay there after the jag, are you surviving?
I got my jag, and I think I'm now struggling. It's not having any after effects, but nevertheless,
not yet.
Well worth it.
But yeah, just for me, Ryan Christie again today just looked completely anonymous. Last season, he was nearly 20 goals. I think it was 19 in all competitions, and I think it's only 7 so far. He just looks miles off it. Callum McGregor hasn't been up to his usual standard, and Odsonne Edouard, when he plays his best, I think he's the best player in the league, but he always looks like he's at 80%, and I can honestly say, looking at that Celtic team, there's 5 or 6 that I'd be certain will be at Parkhead next season. The rest, question marks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Edouard is a sellable asset there. Ayer, will he decide to stay? That's another big question. Those are the 2 main sellable assets for Celtic. As far as the others are concerned, Christie might want to go down south. We're hearing strong rumours about that. The manager that comes in knows he has a major rebuilding, but he's got, I think a good strong 5 or 6 players that will remain there. I think it would be crucial for him to keep the likes of Scott Brown just for one more season, to give them that bridge between the dressing room and, of course, his new ideas, whoever that man is. I don't think it's going to be John Kennedy, Gabriel. I think Celtic needs someone of stature, someone who understands Scottish football, and someone who can go through that major rebuilding to try and win the league straight back.
Yeah, well, that's what they need, and that's what when Rangers didn't complete the 10 in a row, they went and wrestled it straight back. They had to, they wanted to, because they can't just allow it to be a 2-3 year rebuild. There's no time for that. They don't accept here at Celtic Park slipping down and second place,
Yeah, give us your thoughts on that. I mean, Gabriel will read out some of the comments from the overall 90 minutes, but I think a lot of Celtic players undoubtedly will be moving on. I don't think there'll be a place for Lee Griffiths next season either. I think he'll be out the door, because I think when you look over the last 2, possibly 3 seasons, his contribution hasn't been at the level that Celtic fans would have wanted in big games, crucial big games, that they wanted to see their best players on the park. Have they been able to field their strongest 11 over the course of the season, and have the players who've actually started games done enough for Celtic? The answer is emphatically no. To have over 30 points of a swing from last season to this season, I think a lot of Celtic players should take a long, hard look at themselves. In the end, they threw the manager under the bus. There's been a lot of mistakes in the background here, which I think Celtic fans will be asking questions, as they have done over the last few months. They've been highly critical of the board. They've been highly critical of the way the club's run and the recruitment policy, and I'm sure that will be reflected in the messages.
Yeah, we've got Lindsay Buchanan here saying 4 players should be starting next season if you're lucky. Celtic are an extremely poor team. People hoping you're okay, recovering from your coughing as well. But a lot of the comments are about the pre-match. Scott Brown going over to Glenn Kamara, making sure he's okay, saying that we all stand together. And then you saw it as well on the Sky Sports stream. The 2 benches all standing united, standing against racism, no longer taking the knee. They wanted to stand up, stand tall in support of Glenn Kamara and anyone that suffers any form of bigotry or any type of racism, discrimination. So I thought that was really important today.
Yeah, I think in the broad scheme of things, a lot of fans don't realise that, down through the years, there have been many Celtic and Rangers players who've been friends, who get on off the park. And I think that was a great lesson today. If that picture resonates with anyone who thinks that there's a divide and that, players don't act responsibly and don't understand each other and the difficulties that they go through, it was a class moment from Scott Brown. But knowing him as I do, that's what he's like. The things that he does in the background for charity and the type of person he is, I'm not surprised that he went up and just offered his support to Glenn Kamara. Everybody should be doing the same. Everybody should be thinking about the actions and the allegations towards Glenn Kamara from the Slavia Prague player. It can't go on. I thought Celtic and Rangers did the right thing today. Don't take the knee. Don't look towards the tokenism. Let's see if there's some positive action from supporters, from people in society to behave properly and to continue educating people on misdemeanours in society, which is basically racism, sectarianism, any form of prejudice whatsoever. We've got to try and stamp it out. Social media has a huge responsibility in trying to make sure that people are called to account, that suffer the consequence if they are guilty of abusing anyone for the colour of their skin, for their religion, anything whatsoever. And I think that message was brilliant, to see the 2 of them together, to see what Scott Brown just offering out that hand of friendship and obviously showing the support towards Glenn Kamara, which I think so many people have. So there's a lesson from Thursday. From today, as far as a football match is concerned, not a classic. We got a couple of goals out of it. What does it mean in the broad scheme of things? For me, nothing other than there's a major job to be done at Celtic to try and bridge the gap. Is it a huge gap? In my mind, no.
Yeah, a few questions for you coming from here, Peter. First of all, do you think Rangers will go unbeaten? We want to know your answer as well. And if they do, how would you compare this side league-wise to Brendan Rodgers' Invincibles?
Well, I hate to say this, but I don't think there's a comparison really, because I think Rangers will go the season unbeaten. I don't see Celtic going to Ibrox and beating them in their own backyard. I think the 5 games will mean everything to the players. Any of them who talk about the fact that they're thinking about the Scottish Cup, I think it's just a front. Basically, I think the Rangers players will be determined to create just their own wee bit of history in saying they went through an entire season in the Scottish Premiership undefeated. So I think there's no doubt in my mind they'll be desperate to do that. Can they hold a candle to Brendan Rodgers' Invincibles? Not for me. I think if it was a contest between this Rangers side and Brendan Rodgers' Celtic side, the Invincibles, then I think Celtic would come out on top. That said, this is the 3rd year of Steven Gerrard building a side every year I've watched them bring in a better quality of player. I haven't been fooled by some of the players that have been brought in that were not good enough, because Gerrard quickly shipped them out of the starting 11. This is a man who, for me, has brought in a better quality player each season, and Rangers will look towards 3 or 4 better players again to make them better at home, better domestically, better in Europe as well. And I think Steven Gerrard will be there next season to build on this championship winning side. And I think that will excite a lot of Rangers fans. I think there'll be a bit more flair added to this team as well.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited as well. What kind of business are they going to do in the summer? They know that they've got potential Champions League money coming in. They've also won the league title for the first time, and they want to build on that. Rangers want to become the dominant club again, so they will back their manager, because he's delivered. He's delivered, stopping 10 in a row and 55, which is what he came in to do. He's done it. They'll back him. The question is, for me, do they keep Morelos again? Because what we haven't seen from this Rangers team yet in the 3 years under Steven Gerrard is any high-profile players go out the door. You say that when they're not good enough, he shunts them out, and he does do that really well. But they haven't lost anyone yet that they don't want to lose. How would they deal with that?
Well, I think they will try and bank some money for Morelos. What they can get is anybody's business. People can argue over whether they think he's worth 10, 15, 20 million. Who knows? It's what Rangers can try and entice somebody to pay, whether it be the English Premier League or elsewhere. All I would say to you is, if they get the right offer, he'll be off. As far as the rest of the players, guys like Greg Stewart will go out the door. Brandon Barker will not come back. I think Jordan Jones shipped off. George Edmondson won't be back at Ibrox. I think Steven Gerrard will once again try and increase the quality of player that he has for the squad for next season. He has to do that, because, dare I say it, there'll be lots of Celtic fans mentioning there Gabriel on our feed on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. If you think Celtic Park, the board and Dermot Desmond are going to sit and not take any action about what they've witnessed over this last 12 months, then I think it would be an act of being foolish. It's as simple as that, because quite simply Celtic will bounce back. They will spend money. They will offload a lot of players that are not doing the business. They'll have a transfer kitty, and they'll sell a few players as well, which will enhance the money that a manager will have. And I think Celtic will come back roaring at it and having a real go for the title next season. They'll have to bounce back quickly. They'll have to make it a better title race than the shambolic events that we've witnessed over this last season.
Yeah, plenty Celtic fans on it. Martin McMullen, one of them, they all think that they have to bounce back immediately, and that starts with bringing in a new manager. We're no closer to finding out who that will be. There is the Scottish Cup that I kind of want to speak about as well. We've got such a strange season. The way that it is now, we're not even in... Is it the 4th round? The big clubs haven't played a single game. So from April the 3rd to May the 22nd, you have 6 weeks there where it's just entire cup. So they will be looking towards the cup as kind of the as the main thing for Celtic, certainly. You know, Rangers want to keep that up, but Hibs as well, they look to have secured 3rd place. Aberdeen could perhaps find a bright spark in quite a poor season in the Scottish Cup. But Gerrard was saying then that what this will now allow him to do in the league is see new players as well, start to build a new team for next season. The likes of Scott Wright, he gave him praise after the game there, said he was really impressive. He of course came in from Aberdeen in the winter, so we might see the likes of Scott Wright play a big part for Rangers going into the Scottish Cup. For Celtic, I'm not sure what difference we could see. Perhaps a bit more of the likes of Sorrow.
Well, listen, they've got decisions to make about who they're going to play, but there's absolutely no doubt in my mind they'll be desperate to try and win one piece of silverware this season. As far as Rangers are concerned, to get a double would be a huge bonus for Steven Gerrard. But over the 90 minutes here, I think 1-1, probably a fair result. Contentious moment, was it a penalty? The answer emphatically for me is no. It's finished 1-1. Rangers will come out of this 90 minutes happy that they didn't lose the game at Celtic Park, and they're still undefeated. You can give us your views, because tomorrow on the programme Tam McManus will be joining myself and Roughie Alison McConnell as well, looking back over the 90 minutes here at Celtic Park, where it finished Celtic 1, Rangers 1. Don't forget, you can join us for that. You can also get all the latest news, not only from the Scottish domestic scene today, but of course all the big games in the English Premier League as well. All the news on www.plzsoccer.com. From Gabriel Anthony at